We never covered the story of King Thanos, where he makes the Hulk his pet, where Silver Surfer dominates the Hulk, all the superheroes die. It's an amazing story. We covered the origin of the Cosmic Ghost Rider portion of this, but not the main story itself. So, this opens up with Cosmic Ghost Rider traveling from the future into the present day to snatch up Thanos as we know him. Now, we will revisit the idea of Cosmic Ghost Rider because it's been 6 years since we made that video. It couldn't hurt to revisit it over the course of this video. But basically, Thanos in the present day is taken to the far-flung future. And as you can imagine, being snatched up by somebody who he doesn't know and cannot overpower pisses him off to no end. And he just starts like lashing out at this guy, right? So much so that he's like, I am Thanos. And then this disembodied voice comes out of nowhere and says, yes, you certainly are, but I am afraid there is no one here to oppose you, boy. Do you see now? You've already won. Now, of course, Cosmic Ghost Rider also has in his possession the Time Stone, but there is a caveat to this. It's not the Time Stone as you normally know it, that there is a kind of limitation which will become apparent over the course of this video. But one of the things this does is it switches over to what's basically the origin of King Thanos. How did this guy get to a place where he destroyed all the superheroes, turned Hulk into his pet, and basically conquered all of creation? Well, much like the Thanos that we know, because he's a future version of the present day Thanos, their origins are identical up to a point, which is to say Thanos was born to the Eternals with a deviant gene. He was considered a mutant or a monstrosity among his own people. His mother tried to kill him when he was born because she feared that he would basically rise to try to destroy everything in existence, which is exactly what he did. And so we get this really cool monologue where it says that over time, things rather escalated. That as he grew, Thanos began to alter and experiment on his deviant biology, increasing his strength, his intellect, and his cruelty. And then, I'm sure there's very little need to remind you of Thanos' various quests for universal domination. The Infinity Crusades, the Annihilation Wars, the prophecies and conquests, so on and so forth, but always in the background, there was Mistress Death. This is where things start to deviate, and we actually go into what made King Thanos into King Thanos, because what we find out is that at some point along the line in the future of the present day, that death never came for Thanos. And so as the Earth's heroes and champions wilted, old and weak around him, Thanos only grew stronger. He became finally what he was always meant to be. That for eons, Thanos had been called mad, labeled an aberration, a mutant, a deviant, or evil. But perhaps the truth is that Thanos is no more aberrant than the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. He's no more evil than a cancer cell, and he is no madder than his mother before him. And so while he's on Earth, after massacring the entirety of the superhero community, which includes the Watcher and seemingly also involves the Living Tribunal, and I don't even know how in the world he was able to do that, although I do have a suspicion, I'll talk about that here in a second, that the Celestials arrive on the scene. And it says the Phoenix burns, Galactus devours, the Watchers witness, the Celestials judge, Thanos lives, Thanos denies. And so what you get here is one of only like 4 times in Marvel Comics when Black Bolt of the Inhumans mattered. And that's when Thanos uses him basically as a weapon. He stabs him through the chest, and because Black Bolt's quasi-sonic scream emits a powerful blast of energy, when he screams out after being stabbed, it obliterates all the Celestials. And then of course, Black Bolt's killed by Thanos because Black Bolt sucks. But here's the reason why I say that the Living Tribunal kind of makes sense. To kind of sidetrack from this for a second, the most powerful Thanos has ever been in the history of Marvel Comics was when he attained something called the Astral Regulator. And the Astral Regulator was basically the source of all creation, essentially the power of the one above all. When he attained it, he killed the one above all. Now, we're not talking about Thanos the End, where he gets like the power of what's basically the heart of the universe. Those are two completely different things. But with the Astral Regulator, he becomes the one above all. Now, again, we don't necessarily know if that happens here. I mean, seemingly, if he had that level of power, why would he give it up? Right? So I don't know how in the world it was he was able to kill the Living Tribunal, but he was. And so what ends up happening is that as the story is being told, and once the story is concluded, a fight actually breaks out between the younger Thanos and his older self. And he says, I do not care who you think you are, pretender, but know this: Thanos will be put in chains and dragged to his knees and disrespected by no one. And that's where King Thanos says, I did not bring you here to fight me, boy. I brought you here for something bigger, something more significant. Now, before he can explain what that is, Cosmic Ghost Rider steps in, and Ghost Rider says, like, number one, you can't kill me, right? Just be aware of that. I'm as dead as anything can possibly be. But two, the attention of Thanos is taken away when King Thanos begs, when he says, please. Now, anybody who's familiar with the character of Thanos in Marvel Comics will tell you, Thanos never asks for anything, right? Thanos just takes. That there are two kinds of people in existence in the Marvel Universe: those that can defeat Thanos and those who cannot. And that's it. That's all there is, right? Like, it's what Thanos can do and what Thanos cannot do. Nothing more than that. And so to see King Thanos bend the knee and to beg his younger self, the younger Thanos immediately attacks him, sends him flying out of the citadel on the remnants of what was basically Earth at one point, and the two of them begin to fight again. And with younger Thanos, his whole response is, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you're playing at, but you are not me. Thanos never begs. Thanos never has begged, and Thanos never will beg. And so what ends up happening is King Thanos overpowers him using the power cosmic. Now, of course, that is an ability that is explicitly confined to Galactus and whoever it is that Galactus chooses to bestow it to. And so the fact that this King Thanos has the power cosmic means that he destroyed Galactus, that and the giant Galactus head in the background. Yes, we will see when that happens because it's amazing. Like, it's one of the coolest parts of this whole story. And so what goes on is that as the two of them actually start conversing with one another and talking a bit, what we find out and what we're told here is that if there were any doubt left in our young Thanos that the man in front of him was truly himself, separated by millions of years, it was erased with the heat of the power cosmic burning the air in his lungs and the sound of his true name, the one his mother had chosen for him before her mind had been shattered, which of course is Dion. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with this story of Marvel Comics, that's where you got the meme of Thanos who was just totally blinged out. It's Dion, right? It was pretty cool. Makes him sound like a rapper. But basically it says, like, a name that she had only spoken to him on the day that she had died. The fact that this King Thanos knows their true name solidifies immediately to the younger Thanos, okay, you are me, right? You are who you claim to be. And that's why he says, what do you need help with? And this is where it gets cool. This is where the story really starts to take off if you didn't think it had already. Because what happens is Thanos says, I lost someone. I need you to help me bring them back. And when the question is asked by Thanos, who are you talking to? King Thanos says, who do you think I'm talking about? Now, here's the other cool thing. Because Thanos can't really kill anybody anymore because there's no one left in existence seemingly to challenge his rule. There's one guy left, and we'll talk about him here in a second. In order to relish in pain and nihilism, which, as you guys know, Thanos loves death, what he does is he takes the head of the Ghost Rider every morning and he forces the Cosmic Ghost Rider to use the penance stare on him. And as those of you guys who are familiar with Ghost Rider know, the penance stare is a power of the Ghost Rider that forces you to relive all the horrific things you've done and to feel the pain of all the people that you've inflicted pain on simultaneously. If it doesn't kill you, it'll normally drive you insane. For someone like Thanos, he loves it, right? For him, it's refreshing. It's like going out in the garden and tending to the roses. It's just his thing. And so when younger Thanos experiences this, he's just kind of like, I'm surprised I never thought of anything like this before. It's almost a rush, right? Almost kind of like a drug or something along those lines. And so the two of them kind of go back and forth and banter a little bit with regards to the idea of Mistress Death. Because when it comes to younger Thanos, his question is like, the seat that you have here is reserved for Mistress Death. Where is she? Right? Like, what's going on with her? And Thanos gives the response that you would expect him to give, right? I do not know. I've killed almost every living thing in the entirety of this galaxy. Now, galaxy in this story is synonymous with the universe, right? Everything. Marvel does that from time to time, and I don't really understand why. But he says, I've given her everything, but still, there is yet one being that has eluded me, one final foe. I have brought you here to help me kill this thing. Only then will she come to me. Only then will she be mine. And the question of Thanos is, who is this one person? And the response of King Thanos, the Fallen One. Now, here's a funny thing. The younger Thanos kind of scoffs at this idea, and he makes reference to a forgotten herald of Galactus. And that's true. In Marvel Comics, the Fallen One was like the first real herald that Galactus had. But Galactus gave the Fallen One too much power. And so basically, the Fallen One kind of went on a rampage, different things like that. It ultimately forced Galactus to lock him up, right? To literally keep him locked away from all of creation. And if he ever were to escape, it would lay waste to everything. Why didn't Galactus just destroy the Fallen One? I don't know, man, because the story needed to be written. I don't know. Editorial decision. I don't know the answer to that question. But the important thing here is this. What King Thanos says is the Fallen One is near, and at its current speed, it will arrive tonight, shortly after the sun falls. Here's the funny thing. The Fallen One is not the old Herald of Galactus. It's somebody else. And so what happens is the younger Thanos ends up traveling with Cosmic Ghost Rider when they go and feed basically what they call the dog. And that's when you get into the segment about like the Hulk who's been turned into the pet of Thanos, because Thanos like keeps him down in this hole in the bottom of the Citadel and just like feeds him scraps. And what you end up learning is that like the Avengers were fed to Hulk. Hulk ate them. Right now, that's one of the interesting things about his character. In different iterations of the Incredible Hulk and Marvel Comics, right? The Incredible Hulk, the End, different things like that. He has no qualms with consuming superheroes if that's what it takes to survive. Old Man Logan, it was the exact same thing. Technically, in the end, he was the last living being on Earth. But that story, God, we covered that story, I think, like 9 years ago. Something crazy, like 7 or 8 years ago. Sometimes I forget how long we've made videos. But the bigger point here is the Hulk just resides down here, and you're actually not going to see him in this story for quite some time. More so than that, what you do is you get the identity of who Cosmic Ghost Rider is. Now, here's a funny thing. At the time this story came out, everybody was 100% sure that Cosmic Ghost Rider was Deadpool, because Cosmic Ghost Rider had all the mannerisms of Deadpool. He's exactly what you would expect if Deadpool became the Ghost Rider. It's not Deadpool. Cosmic Ghost Rider was Frank Castle. By now, it's all known by everybody, but at the time, it was crazy when we got this revelation. It was mind-blowing. It was like, holy cow. And so what ends up happening is the younger Thanos basically storms what's essentially the Church of Mistress Death, where King Thanos is currently praying to her, right? Kind of worshiping her, for lack of a better word. And what's cool about this is King Thanos considers this to be an incredibly holy place. So when young Thanos just shows up here and starts screaming, King Thanos pulls out the Twilight Sword of Surtur. Now, Surtur, as you guys know, is immensely powerful. So the fact that Thanos was able to kill him was mind-blowing. In Marvel Comics, you do get stories like that sometimes, where you have two immensely powerful characters that would never meet, but end up encountering each other. We do not see Thanos fighting and destroying Surtur, unfortunately. That would be cool. But there have been stories where like Galactus invades the realm of Dormammu and defeats Dormammu, which was awesome. I'll link that video at the end of this because we covered that story too. Right? But the cool thing about this is it just really goes to show how powerful King Thanos is. More so than that, the differentiation between the younger version of himself and this older version really lies in the way that they approach the concept of Mistress Death, because King Thanos is still very much in love with Mistress Death and always trying to attain her affection. The younger Thanos has largely walked away from this, or at least claims that he has, right? I'm no longer in love with her, I don't really care what she wants, it doesn't matter to me, yada yada yada. But King Thanos calls the bluff, right? He's just like, I'm you in the future. I know everything that you are thinking. I am what you become. So when you sit there and you tell me that you don't care about Mistress Death anymore, I know you're not telling the truth, because I know exactly what you're thinking in this moment, right? It's just one of these really, really cool bits of things that are here. But what happens is that Thanos asks, when was the last time that you saw Mistress Death? And King Thanos says, hundreds of years ago, thousands? I don't really recall time anymore. It was after I killed that gold skin guy. What was his name? Aaron something. And Thanos is like, Adam Warlock? And the response of King Thanos is, yeah, maybe that's what it was. I'm not really entirely sure. But he says, she was waiting for me after the battle, but she just stood there, not saying a word, as if she were waiting for something more. I didn't know what it was. It took me so long to see it. I gave her everything, my enemies, my allies, my children, everything, and yet she hasn't come to me. And that's usually the way that Mistress Death works. Now, there had been stories, and I don't remember the exact comic, but there was a point, I think, where Mistress Death told Thanos why it is that she cannot love him in the traditional sense, which is that he's living, he's alive, she's dead, and her role is much, much larger than to just like abscond with basically an evil version of Grimace, right? I mean, that's just not her thing, and it's just never ever going to happen. But what's interesting about that is Thanos is actually banished from the realm of Mistress Death. He is immortal, so she made it so he can never die. So essentially, she's just kind of like, I made it so we can never be together, and then at the same time, I'm going to complain about the fact that we're not together, and it's just like, figure it out, girl. But that's the crazy thing here. It's because in the midst of this, the Fallen One arrives on the scene. And that's when you end up learning that the Fallen One is not this old herald of Galactus, it's the Silver Surfer. Now, here's the cool thing, because this is when you switch over to how all this comes together. And you jump back to the Punisher. And what you learn is that in this attack on Earth, when Thanos basically killed all the superheroes alongside an army that he brought to Earth to assist in the invasion, that he obliterated everyone. They never even stood a chance. And so Frank Castle was basically the last man standing. He looked on as like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and Iron Man were killed by this guy. And so what he does is he says, I would give anything to punish Thanos. And in response to this, his soul is whisked away to the realm of Mephisto, and Mephisto asks, would you give anything, right? What would you be willing to give? And so basically Frank Castle sells his soul to Mephisto. Now, as those of you guys know, and this is what we talked about in the original origin video that we did, whenever you make a bargain with Mephisto, number one, the deck is always stacked against you. It's why guys like Stephen Strange will make bargains with Mephisto, but they'll find a way to dupe Mephisto while allowing Mephisto to believe that he has the upper hand. But what's always going to happen here for any average Joe that doesn't know what they're doing, they're going to strike a deal. Mephisto is going to honor that deal with some kind of a caveat, and then when you die, you lose your soul. In this instance, Mephisto turned Punisher into the Ghost Rider and gave him all the power that he would need to defeat Thanos. The caveat here, he can never leave Earth. He's stuck on this planet. So until such a time as Thanos returns here, he's just going to be riding around a dead world, able to do basically nothing. But then, out of nowhere, Galactus appears. And when Galactus arrives on the scene with basically his guts spilling out all over the place, he's calling for Reed Richards for aid. But Reed's nowhere to be found because he's dead. They were all destroyed by Thanos. And so Ghost Rider is the only one that's here. Because Galactus doesn't know what's going on, Ghost Rider explains it all, right? Basically everything that we just covered with this massive battle. And so in response to this, Ghost Rider says, look, I'll make a deal with you, right? Make me your herald and hook me up with some crazy cosmic powers, and together we can go and punish Thanos together. Now, one of the reasons why Frank Castle's mannerisms as the Ghost Rider are so different from what you normally see is because anywhere between hundreds to thousands of years have passed since like the ending of all the superheroes and this moment. So basically, he's just been going crazy on Earth is really all it is. Like a giant planetary version of cabin fever, for lack of a better word. And so where Galactus asked the question, what do I get out of this deal? The response of Frank Castle is, you could have the Earth. Right, you can consume this place. And so Galactus strikes a deal with the Ghost Rider, gives him the power cosmic, and that's where you get Cosmic Ghost Rider from. Now, one of the things that goes on is we didn't really get any kind of like a buddy cop story where you got to see Cosmic Ghost Rider and basically Galactus running around with each other. A lot of that's because this story was written by Donny Cates, and for any number of reasons, because the stories change in the telling, he doesn't work for Marvel anymore. So as far as I'm aware, he didn't work for anybody anymore. But he never got a chance to really do anything beyond this. So we have no clue if anybody else would pick up the pen and just kind of go from there. What is important is that Cosmic Ghost Rider and Galactus had traversed all of creation for basically thousands of years trying to find King Thanos, who always eluded them. Ultimately, they catch up to him. And as soon as Galactus arrives on the scene, he gets obliterated by King Thanos on the spot. Like, his head gets blown apart. And like, that's the end of him. He's just dead. I mean, just immediately, he's dead. And so King Thanos sees Cosmic Ghost Rider is somebody who's interesting, right? Somebody who's intriguing, and brings him on as what is basically his assistant or his right hand. And then following that, we switch back over to what's happening now, which is the fight between the Surfer, King Thanos, along with present day Thanos and Cosmic Ghost Rider. And it is dope. Because what happens here is that with basically Cosmic Ghost Rider remembering that he's the Punisher and just kind of doing his thing, he just shoots everybody with like hell bullets, right? Hellfire bullets, and does his thing. But then Thanos tells him, like, this is the Annihilation Horde. We need something greater than that. And of course, Cosmic Ghost Rider unleashes the full totality of his Hellfire powers and obliterates the whole of the Annihilation Horde. Now, for those of you guys who are not familiar with the Annihilation Horde, we don't need to go too in-depth into this. Suffice it to say, it comes from the negative zone, basically this alternate dimension that exists out there. But this army numbers in the billions, right? So Cosmic Ghost Rider eradicated all these guys in just one swoop, and that was it. And so with seemingly the Fallen One being defeated, Thanos standing there and observing all of this, he's just kind of like, this isn't right. I fought Silver Surfer countless times in the past. Never has he been so easy to beat. It cannot be this easy. And then like Silver Surfer appears, right? And he says, no, it was never that easy. It was never going to be that easy. And that's where King Thanos asked the question, if you could kill me, you would have done it by now. So tell me, Norrinrad, if you came all this way just to die, why did you wait so long? And the response of the Silver Surfer is, I was not waiting, I was working. And when the question's asked by King Thanos, what were you working on? He says, becoming worthy. That Silver Surfer now has the hammer of Thor. And that is dope because he immediately goes to work on this guy. Now, one of the things about this that I always was disappointed about when it came to the story, we never learned how Silver Surfer became worthy. And we never really saw any of the things he did while he had the hammer of Thor. I mean, we get this like one-page shot where he's just like going through and destroying what was basically the forces of Thanos, likely garrisons that were left on other worlds while Thanos was destroying what was left in all of creation. That was basically it. But in essence, and this is the crazy thing here, in this moment where you have Cosmic Ghost Rider, both Thanos and the Silver Surfer, these are the only four beings left in existence. There are no more cosmic entities. There's no more worlds with people on them, nothing. In the entirety of the universe, these four are all that's left. And so what happens is that Silver Surfer lets King Thanos have it. I mean, he unleashes on him and it's amazing. It's not even close. In fact, he's going toe to toe with both of these guys at the same time. And even when you have Cosmic Ghost Rider who shows up here after Silver Surfer has seemingly just like killed King Thanos, that like Cosmic Ghost Rider tries to overpower the Silver Surfer, and Surfer just like crushes this guy using the hammer, like just obliterates him, blows his head apart, the whole 9 yards. This dude's donezo, right? Like he's out of the picture. And so what happens is that when Surfer turns to Thanos, Thanos is like, you have no clue what you've unleashed, do you? You have no clue what you've done. And the Surfer is just like, I've been beating back the fury of Thanos for eons, child. I assure you, I am more than ready to face you. And the response of Thanos is like, I wasn't talking about myself and I wasn't talking about the old man. And so where the Surfer asks, like, then tell me, what is it that I've unleashed? The Surfer turns around to find the Incredible Hulk, who's just losing it in this moment, right? Hulk kill. This guy just emerges out of the ground looking incredible. And he just like takes it to the Silver Surfer. Here's the funny thing. When I say that the Silver Surfer dominates the Hulk, he doesn't. Because what you would expect to see is like this great big huge grandiose fight. Nope. Literally, the Silver Surfer chokes him out. Like, he just grabs him by the throat. And then immediately, like, Hulk starts punching the Surfer, and nothing happens. He's just bloodying his knuckles. So it might as well be you or me punching the side of a skyscraper, right? Just nothing comes out of this. But what the Surfer is able to do is talk the Hulk down back into his normal Bruce Banner form. And as the Surfer's talking to him, he's like, what has that guy done to you, right? What has the monster done to you? And so Banner's just kind of twisted, right? Just sort of in this almost childlike state. And then Thanos shows back up, not King Thanos, but regular Thanos. And he just kind of taunts the Surfer, right? He's like, let's hurry this up, shall we? I grow tired of this dancing. And when the Surfer says, I'm not hiding, Thanos, come then, let us end this, the response of Thanos, once again, Surfer, no one's talking to you. Old King Thanos is alive and just stabs through both Banner and the Surfer with the Twilight Sword. Kills these two on the spot. And so it's just like, wow, right? I mean, it was nuts, dude. God, this is taking me back to when I first read this story. It was so incredible. And so both these Thanoses, I don't know what the plural of Thanos is, both these Thani working together basically cut off the arm of the Surfer so he can't lift the hammer anymore, and then tear his body apart. Like literally, King Thanos takes the Surfer's head and smashes it through the hilt of the hammer. It's crazy because, you know, he can't lift the thing. So it's awesome to see like how this fight ends. But here's the funny thing here. It's not the end of the story, because what happens is the two of them are looking out on all this death and destruction. And exactly the way that King Thanos prophesized, Mistress Death is there. She's watching them, and she's wearing a wedding dress. So it's like, wow, like this is really it, right? Like she is there to basically finally become one with King Thanos. And King Thanos is like shocked by it. Like, my lady, you came. And the response to Thanos, indeed she has. But why has she stopped? Why does she not come further? What more does she want? And where he's momentarily interrupted, he says, no, this is enough. No more. And he says, I grow tired of your games. I can only imagine how tired he is of them. What more do you want from me? And where Mistress Death just kind of shrugs, he says, why will you not relent? Speak to me. We have given you everything that you wanted. There is nothing left to kill. What more could you want? And that's when it dawns on Thanos what it is that she's actually looking for. Because her shrugging was not an indication of, I don't know. Her shrugging is, how come you haven't figured it out yet? And when he does, he realizes, I have to kill you. Right? Like, I have to kill King Thanos because it's the only way to be with Mistress Death. She is of the realm of death. She has to exist. She has to reside there. The only way to be with her is to go there to where she's at, right? To meet her. And so because of that, this fight breaks out between the two of these guys, and it is an intense knockdown, drag out fight because he's not going to just roll over and die. Right? And so as these guys go back and forth with each other, what's cool is the younger Thanos is overpowering his older self, right? He's literally crushing him. And it makes perfect sense because as long as King Thanos isn't using things like the power cosmic, and because they're focusing on what is in effect a bare knuckle fight, when it comes down to strength, speed, resiliency, it's younger Thanos. Right now, I know it's kind of strange because it says that as Thanos grew older, he became stronger, but the implication there is less about physical strength, and it's more about the levels of power that he was able to gain by virtue of the people he was defeating. So again, taking the power cosmic, things like that, that amplify his abilities, but don't seem to increase his base level strength. There is a little bit of inconsistency here. There is room for debate, and I'm curious to see how you guys feel about that. But what ends up happening is the younger Thanos ultimately says, no, I'm not going to kill you. That's just not going to happen, right? If what you want is to die, then you do it yourself. Because King Thanos starts begging, right? He's like, Thanos, come back and finish this, please. And that's where the younger Thanos is just like, no, like that's not going to happen. If you want to die, do it on your own. He ultimately snatches the time stone away from King Thanos, and King Thanos says, like, it's a broken infinity stone. It doesn't work, right? I mean, you can't just take it and use it the way you traditionally would. But that's where Thanos realizes that Cosmic Ghost Rider would charge the time stone, and that's how he would use it. So in turn, Thanos uses the powers of the Silver Surfer, or really his body, in order to open a time portal and send himself back to the present day. But what he does is that when older King Thanos says, we cannot die, so by you walking away and leaving me here, you're creating a causal loop. I am your future. And so because I exist, the time will come when you will become me, you will seek out your younger self, and then your younger self will leave you to this fate, to basically live out the rest of existence in this universe for eternity or until the universe dies, and that's it. But the response of the younger Thanos is, no, that's not going to happen, right? What this means is that we are millions of years in the future. It means that I have all the time that I need. I will not kill you, old man, but until I am ash and bone, I will work without end to deny you. I will never become you. I will erase you one way or another. And where King Thanos kind of starts laughing at the idea, what happens is that as Mistress Death approaches him, all around him reality begins to disintegrate because this guaranteed future stops being a guaranteed future because Thanos never arrives on Earth. He never kills all the superheroes. He doesn't launch a war and a crusade across the universe, killing every cosmic entity and everything. He never does that. And so, because of that, this future cannot exist. And so, King Thanos simply just fades away. But at long last, he finally gets the one thing he always wanted. He gets to be with Mistress Death. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. And I will catch you all later. Peace.